Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our second South Jersey Creatives at the Table, featuring Pedro Fuller. He is a Latinx artist from South Jersey who's going to give us a virtual tour of his studio and talk to us about some of his new work. We're very excited to have him. We're working with Stockton, and we have some very exciting features to today's session where it's the very first time that we are using a translation feature. So if you are the presentation that Pedro is going to give today will be completely in Spanish. So if you need to have translation, you should see an interpretation button down where your chat and share screen features are located. You can select that and make your choice as to whether you need translation into English or Spanish. That will give you the option to hear your chosen language. You'll hear the language from the presentation at 20% audio, and then you'll hear your chosen language a little bit louder just so you can get the inflection. So this is a new feature we're trying, groundbreaking here with these South Jersey Creatives at the Table. Hopefully it works well. If it does not, please use the chat and I will try and help you as best I can. So I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to get started without any further ado. So as I said, it's the second of our new series of South Jersey Creatives at the Table, this one featuring Pedro Fuller, who we're so excited to share with you. I wanted to take a moment just to welcome everybody and tell you a little bit about where this particular series of programs stems from work that SJCA has been doing with our South Jersey our South Jersey Cultural Asset Map project. This is a project in which we are partnering with our members and our statewide partners to share data about all of the cultural assets in each of the 8 southern counties. And we are collecting all of that information into a central database. We'll be creating an interactive GIS map. We'll be able to share information with the entire cultural community of South Jersey. We're very excited about it. We've been sharing a lot of data and entering a lot of new artists and organizations into our database. The project is really to help us reach out to the community and help us to identify the entire spectrum of arts and culture in South Jersey. It's going to help us to be able to communicate more equitably and inclusive in an inclusive way with the entire community, and just provide an opportunity for us to connect with artists and organizations and community cultural groups, for those groups to connect with each other, and for us to try and help to connect you with resources you need to do the work that you're doing better. So that's a little about SJ Camp. This series will continue on. We're going to have a different artist featured each month, and that artist can bring whatever they like to the table. It can be a virtual studio tour, it can be a cultural discussion, it can be an art slam. It's really as unique as the artists themselves. So look for future sessions with other artists from South Jersey that are going to share their work with you and give you a chance to connect with them and the rest of the community. So with that said, I am going to turn it over to Pedro and play the video of the virtual tour.
Hola, mi nombre es Pedro Fuller. Soy de Managua, Nicaragua. Vine a los Estados Unidos en 1979, corriendo de un país que estaba en guerra para ese tiempo.
Because it was bad. I'm going to talk a little about my story before I left Nicaragua. I was there and it was good because I started to do drawings as a kid, and then growing up I liked doing more drawings of maps of many countries and do little drawings that would help me get inspired during that time. But I happened to pass a street and look at an artist making a beautiful landscape, and I told him that I liked what he was doing, and I walked over and got a better look at him and noticed him, and his name is Noel, and I saw him and I tried to establish a relationship with him because at the beginning he was a lot of help, and then he disappeared and he never came back, but he taught me a lot. At that time I did a lot of paintings, It was like my first love.
Como principiante.
I used to paint a lot, like a beginner. Lots of pictures, many landscapes during the day. But that inspired me to leave the country, which was in war during that time. Both the army and the Sandinistas were wanting to conquer the capital Managua. And there really was war for all of Nicaragua with Anastasio Somoza because he was the dictator of the country. And the thing is that it was terrible for the youth of that time. And there was so much war to the point where many families were away. My family was living in Puerto Rico and others were in the US. The thing is that I was sent away because I was in danger. And I went with my brother. Before leaving Nicaragua, there was a complete ambush where there were like 40 men who wanted to shoot us, but thank God they didn't. They let us leave Managua, and we traveled by car to reach the United States. Back in Nicaragua, I could not paint what I wanted to because there were so many restrictions that they put. One could not paint. One could have been killed if they didn't paint something political or something the government liked. I was in danger. So being in the US,
A ellos no les gustaba, pues no estaba en peligro. Pues entonces ya estando aquí
so
en
being
Estados
in the US, I went to a private school and I was there for 4 years. And they taught me a lot. And I was also in Wilson High School where I studied a lot of English and Spanish. I then went to Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. From there, I graduated and left with the inspiration in my art. I have better inspiration because I have 12,000 drawings.
12,000 dibujos. Pero
But in 1981, this was when I did my first work. It's actually a copy of the original. The original is at Rutgers University in Camden. This is where the first work that I did is. Today, I began to do another in oil called The War. I say this is my surrealist painting. This is the first one. I was quite inspired by Marc Chagall. I was gifted a book by an Argentine friend who gave me the work of Chagall. In the book, there's a piece of art that inspired me so much that for me it was an incredible inspiration. From there, it began. My work was born. From that one painting, I am now making surrealist paintings. And behind that, there's another story. In the year that Picasso died, in the year 1973, that Picasso died. Well, that was a great pain that I felt when I was in Nicaragua, because that was a year later after the great earthquake that destroyed the entire city. 10,000 people died in Nicaragua, and from there came this art in 1981. And for me, it was a great inspiration, and it's what I'm doing today. And for me, it takes a lot of strength and power, and I'm very grateful. Now we continue with this art, which has clearly inspired me from its colors, and those colors were so appropriate for their time. Now, these colors have inspired me to do new paintings that are born today. The colors have allowed me to do surreal abstracts, which has helped me a lot and inspired me, because in the past, what inspired me were great painters.
Porque realmente en el pasado lo que a mí me inspiró mucho fueron
Painters
estos
like Picasso or Fernando Botero and his colors. Picasso, because I loved his lines, his colors, and he has inspired me. I have a great friend who has also inspired me. His name is Juan Gomez, whose work I love. Its colors with the technique of strips, and its pencil work too. Armando Morales from Nicaragua also is another that has inspired me a lot. Armando Morales has some textures that are wonderful, which has been influenced in my art. Seeing the textures, and you can see reflected in my art.
como dejó esa obra bien plasmada en su arte. También ha
There's
habido
other Nicaraguan artists like Omar de Leon, who is a great painter who does things that are typical from Nicaragua. He has done really a tremendous job in art with his colors, his way of drawing, and his pieces. I happened to see him personally, and it inspired me a lot. He is such a wonderful person who, again, I admire. In the same way, when I went to Paris, I took many of my pieces to France, and I was there for a little over a month. In 2012, I was there for a month till October, and that was wonderful and inspirational for me.
esta pintura
This
realmente.
painting has been a great inspiration for me. Its colors. For example, if we see here the details like the police is the army, here you can see how the army would grab students who are great workers, because I remember how you had to be hiding during that time. I would walk home at night, maybe I was visiting a friend, maybe I was visiting a friend, and I would be grabbed by them at night and had to run and hide because the cops were bad. They grabbed you, and then you would be found dead the next morning because they're criminals. Young students have always had a great fear of them. The army of the Sandinistas in these moments have killed so much the last year. They killed a lot of students for protesting due to not having freedom of expression.
Que han matado tanto, el año pasado mataron muchísimos estudiantes por protestar nada más, porque no hay libertad de expresión. Lo mismo
Which
que
you
hay.
could see in this piece. Look at the details. This is how they would place the students. And I saw this happening in my country, and they made fun of the students. They would laugh and do much more terrible things. We suffered. These houses I placed here, they remind me of over there. The colors here are the same as the ones back in Nicaragua. I am now using them today in my works because these colors and pieces inspire me. This is also because that's where so many of my works were born. Their colors and forms inspire me. And all this that comes out of my soul, from my heart and my feelings, is displayed in my art.
Pues esta obra
This work has inspired me a lot because I really love music. For example, Beethoven music, salsa music. This work was inspired when I was working on my job in Rutgers University. I would sit during my lunch hour. I would sit during my lunch hour and I started to draw this. It was a great inspiration for me drawing because this is here where it gave me so much inspiration that it touched my heart. I heard music that someone, maybe a student, was playing. And the thing is that it entered into my soul, my heart, and my life. And then I said, no, I have to do this work, and in big. Then this is the result, my work. and I wanted some musical or something from seeing that person shining with happiness because he had been given a good grade, and that was tremendous for me. It inspired me so much that it shocked me.
Wow, dije yo.
Like, wow, that boy walking with that young girl inspired me to do this piece. I said to myself, so you have to touch this drawing with some music. Give it color. It's worth giving it inspiration. Give it movement. Make sure it has that weight. Let that romance enter your heart. And for anyone who loves art, I hope they get inspired and for the art to reach their souls and their heart as well. And that is my inspiration for this piece.
Le encanta el arte, pues le llegue al alma y al corazón también. Y esta pues es mi inspiración en esta obra. Yo pues le doy gracias. Aquí tenemos una nueva obra.
Here we have one work in pastel on paper. My inspiration for this piece is, well, first, the name of this is The Pretty, because I was walking by a store where I was going to buy something. And then I looked at several women who walked by very flirtatious and well painted, and that to me inspired to do this work. I stopped in front of one of the ladies to paint this piece. She seemed to be the most flirtatious than the rest, and because of that, I drew it a bit faster. The sketch was drawn fast. This was a result of that. My memory of that woman and how she was walking with that flirtiness, and she had a hop to her walk and a sway of her hips that was exaggerating like the rest. Meanwhile, flirting with several men who passed by. I also looked at the nudity that she was displaying in the front. It was very out of the ordinary, but they stayed in my mind, and I made a fast drawing. This is the result. In chalk, I did it in pastel. By doing it in pastel, I like to put the colors together. And this is another reason why this is an inspiration from my past works. And today I also use these colors because I love the color green, I love pink, I love the color blue. Those combinations inspired me to do this work, and especially their faces, because that woman was very white, very flirtatious, and she was in a disoriented way. I remember I said, "Oh my God, what is this? These women walk there and make others fall in love with them." I said, "What is this? I must draw a figure like this woman." That was another inspiration. She was also wearing a lot of makeup. I painted her with bright red because she was calling the attention in that way, and her hair a little flirtatious with many things on her hair. I remember seeing all of those combinations of colors and harmony in the way the ladies walked and got everyone's attention. This is what the result was, The Pretty. Here I'm showing you a painting created in October 2020, The Watcher of the Guitar. If you see here, we have two personalities who are watching what is happening. So, what inspired me for this piece was my brother. His love for the guitar. He used to have a band where he played. He would sing and play music everywhere. His band consisted of many great people. They were very talented and tremendous people, and great singers too. And that, to me, inspired me to do this piece because we all observed. I reflected it into my piece. I looked at my brother play that guitar with such love, adoration, and he would play from his heart. And I really loved that. I really loved that. I plastered all that onto my work. The colors, I also love the colors. The colors would put you as if you were on a cloud, made you feel like you were going to heaven. The music and the movement that he would bring out, how he would play that guitar and all that music that would flow into the rooms. They would play and everyone would dance in response. Everyone would leave satisfied, happy, and energized. That was my biggest inspiration for this piece. This is why I wanted to paint this. I wanted to do something different, to give people that sensation that there's a guitar playing, that there's characters in it. I also included myself because I would watch them and go to their practices. I would sit there and listen to them. It would be 2 in the morning and they would still be there practicing. I wouldn't even get tired from watching them. Really, to hear those melodies, they would go play at parties and seeing everyone dance and everyone would enjoy it. There was a rhythm and a beauty that would explode. This is what really inspires me to keep on painting and painting every day, because it reminds me of after the practice or the parties, I would return home at night and paint. It would paint, I would paint because there was inspiration to paint from. It would enter me, into my heart, and my body, and my whole being. That would inspire me to grab my brush and keep on painting. That's my inspiration for every work. And I'm giving you everything that I have in my heart and in my head through these pieces of art. There are so many ideas that I have, especially in this work. And well, it fascinates me that people have to work a bit to look at these pieces because that gives me more ideas. For example, here,
Tengo y estoy pintando, especialmente en esta obra, pues a mí me fascina que las
I
personas
love, I love that people look at this painting. For example, here, I love the color yellow because Van Gogh liked the color yellow. It was his favorite color, but it is also my color. Each person has different colors like red and yellow and green. The thing is that people like many different colors. There are even painting parts of the hairs different colors, but that's what is wonderful because we have the freedom of speech in this country, and that's why I have that freedom to put any color and anything on this piece of art. I've always loved the texture so that I can look over here and look at the depth of the area, how it's very strong, and then here it's a little more soft or light. The piece has this flow to it. It has this rhythm, like if you were in the ocean and watching the waves move. I wanted to make this piece deeper and immerse myself into it. I remember it when at night I would start at 12 a.m. and end at 2 in the morning. I finished little by little this piece. Little by little, I was giving those touches. Little by little, I would be concentrated, inventing, because I'm not copying anyone. I'm trying to invent and inspire myself through the music, through the colors on my palette. And I said to myself, no, this piece has to come out a certain way. And the thing is that when I finished it at 2 in the morning, maybe 2:05 in the morning, I was satisfied and happy because I created it like I saw it in my head and inside my heart, inside my soul, because that was my passion. I left satisfied that night in 2000. I was very happy because the next day was Saturday. And the first thing I did when I opened my eyes the next morning was give thanks to God. And I woke up like at 10 in the morning because I was tired. I, I had to work on other projects and it was wonderful. One piece from my past that inspires this one was the war.
de la obra que también me ha inspirado en el pasado. Y este es el resultado de hoy, es la guerra. ¿Qué pasa con la guerra? La guerra, esta es
This
una...
work has inspired me tremendously because this came from Nicaragua. Specifically, what happened in Nicaragua, the deaths, the institutions, they killed people, and there was still no peace. And all that was inside of me, in my heart, and I was able to capture it here in this work. Like I said, this piece came out from Nicaragua, from my soul. Today, this is the result of that past, now turned into this colorful painting. The way of the painting and the colors I have placed here. That's why I'm very satisfied and happy of my work and all that is within it. Thank you for listening to me, for looking at me, and I hope that this inspires you and many others. Thank you. May God bless you.
So thank you for that wonderful video, Pedro. That's some amazing work that you're doing. Before we started the session, Pedro said that he wants to show some work live and talk to you a little about some things that he's been working on. So we're going to add that in right now after the virtual tour that we just saw. So Pedro, please show us what you've got in the studio.
Gracias, claro que sí. Yes, por ejemplo, aquí tengo
Here behind me, I have the Mundo of Colores, which is the world of color.
Mundo de colores. No sé si se podrá ver todo, pero sí Mundo de
I'm not sure
colores.
if you could see everything, but I wanted to do this in big. I have a smaller one, but I wanted to do it in a big canvas. I wanted to give that brightness and that color to it.
Dar unas expresiones diferentes, damos también texturas diferentes.
You see the texture, there's so many textures here. You'll see a contrast of colors here all around the world. Someone looking at this. You could see the landscape here on the top. The texture on the top is more rougher. There's a sky full of clouds. This world has a little bit of everything. You could see like a river in here. And there's a huge movement all around this painting with its colors and brightness. If you guys have any questions about this.
Okay, Pedro, we have a question that's asking, what has been the longest you have worked in a piece or on a single piece? So the longest amount of time it's taken you to create a work.
Bueno, por ejemplo, esta obra fue hecho en 2 meses. Lo más que he trabajado en una obra.
This piece took me 2 months. The longest that a piece has taken me has been 3 months. And this one took me 2 months. But the longest one was 3 months. Usually it takes me 3 days to a week to do something smaller. When I have something, a bigger inspiration, I'll do that faster.
Okay. We have another question. Do you have any plans in the works for new pieces that you're currently working on?
Yes.
Do you want to share what you're currently working on with us? Or are you keeping it top secret until the next time we feature you?
Ahora, en el futuro, tal vez, sí.
I don't have any plans yet, but maybe in the future.
We had a couple of comments, not necessarily questions, but Molly Carpenter says the textures and colors remind her of hand-blown glass, which is true. I can definitely see that. Does anyone else have questions? Oh, wait, we got one more here. How do you determine the size of a work?
¿Cómo decides? ¿Cómo decides? Ujú. I have different sizes. Sometimes there's museums that'll do something for them and that they want me to do it a certain size for them. Sometimes they'll ask me for something big, something small. I like to use 36 to 29 because then I can make it bigger or smaller. In the frames, I have to do those as well. I like to do it myself because I have my machines. There's many different museums like in Puerto Rico that I display my art. And I would like to show you guys another one. Wow. The world of concrete. Here it's very concentrated in a lot of cities, but especially in mine. This is like the whole nation, the whole world right now. People dying, people fighting. Many mothers are dying. Many mothers are going through a rough time because their children are getting killed. In the city of Camden, it was terrible. But something made it calmer, and it's beautiful now. But it's not as before. In Nicaragua, you would see young kids smoking weed. And I would see all of this happening because I would walk by and I would be in the streets. And anyone who would sell weed would get killed. And this is happening all over the world. This piece shows young people killing each other, mothers suffering for their kids. You could see it right there. I do my own frames. I've always liked to do my own frames. And there's many museums that appreciate me doing the frames. There's many places in Puerto Rico like museums or universities that showed my work. In the radio, they showed my work. In the TV, they showed my work.
That's great. Okay, well, we've accumulated quite a few questions, so I sent them to you in the chat, but I'm going to read them as well. The first question is, have you ever branched out and made sculpture?
No, escultura, pues la hice en la academia, hice mucho
I
en la
did
academia.
it in school,
Siempre traté de hacer un poco más, pero tengo muchas cosas en la mente para el futuro.
and I've tried to do more, but I have more ideas for other
Pero no en
things.
estos momentos.
But no, not during this time.
Next question. How do you think your culture continues to influence your work?
Sí, claro que sí. A mí en Nicaragua pues me ha influenciado bastante.
Nicaragua has influenced me, my Latin background. I love being positive, and the food, the Mexican food, any kind of food, I love it. And that for me, those things are my greatest inspiration. To paint fruits, to paint some foods for my culture.
Great. Okay, a very important question. Where can we see more of your work?
Muri John, él pues en septiembre vamos a hacer una
In
exhibición.
September, we will be showing my work in Philadelphia.
Casualmente voy a hacerlo con Juan Gómez.
I'm going to do it with Juan Gomez.
Es para el tiempo latino.
It's for the Latin. We're going to do a Latin exhibition. And also in Trenton in November.
Great. Well, I'll make sure to get that exhibit information, and I'll include that with the recording and the post email that you'll all receive so that you know where you can find more of Pedro's work. Next question. Do you have any works with figures that are not so graphic or tragic?
Sí, sí, tengo un poco de todo, especialmente.
I have a little bit of everything. I have 12,000 sketches. I have a few selected from the 12,000 that I really enjoy and like. And this one, the La Guapa, the pretty, she's not tragic. This is a sketch that I worked on. And this is happy. There's a movement of happiness in this piece. Her colors, her form. She doesn't have that evil in her. The beauty's coming out of me. A piece of art is not just to do it, to do it. I said thank you to someone who was helping me with my art because they let me put my artwork in that exhibit. And they told me to not say thank you to them, that they should be the one saying thank you to me for letting me show my work to them. And I painted a lot. In the past, in Philadelphia, they were seeing my art because they were confused. Many people were confused because they would see political things and beautiful things and then war things. In the Channel 6, someone said something different about a painting that I painted, but it was because they saw it the wrong way. They didn't understand the background of that piece. for the whole year, the news was saying things about my paintings because they weren't interpreting it the right way. People were confused of my art, but everything is just a message. Gone for Christmas is that art that they confused. But then I did a report about it and showed everyone what it actually was about, and everyone understood at the end.
Great. Okay, we got 2 questions. This question says, you mentioned that you worked at Rutgers previously. How was your work perceived by students at Rutgers? And would you ever want to teach students about your art and how to become better artists?
For example,
For example, I worked at Rutgers for many years, and then I retired. And the students, Rutgers actually called me 5 times to give classes. The teachers actually let me show some of my work in their exhibits. Actually, the only thing, I went by to a class that was being held in Rutgers, and the teacher called me in, and I was hiding. Come over here. There were like 300 people, and I was like walking. I didn't know what to say. I was nervous. I looked at everyone, and it was beautiful. I love this. And don't believe that that guy working there as a janitor doesn't know anything about art, because he does. Please sit. They told him to sit down and listen to the class too. And he sat down. And once the presentation was over, everyone over to me, and they kept asking me questions, and it was incredible. And I was critiquing their arts, their pieces, and they were doing the same with me. And they were astonished that I understood art terms. They were calling me to many classes. Like last year, I had like 70. I had 70 students. They first lied to me saying that I was going to show my art, but in reality, they wanted me to give them a class. You have to talk to them. And he's like, oh my God. And I had to talk, and I started talking to the students, and I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for this. I thought I was just gonna show my art, not give a class. And with the little English I know, I gave a class. And everybody came up to me asking me questions, and I felt so energized and happy. In the summer in Camden, they would give classes with young students, and they would listen to my class, and they said that the way that I would teach was different from other teachers, is that your way of painting, your technique teaches us and inspires us, and other teachers work different. They teach us through the books. You teach us as if the present is going on right now. And Rutgers has helped me a lot in the students.
I'm sure that any class you would give would be inspiring to students. And that sort of leads to our next question. The last question that we have before we'll wrap things up here is, what advice would you give to young artists who are inspired by your work as you were inspired by Picasso?
Bueno, realmente yo tuve en el museo en Barcelona.
Well, in Barcelona, I was in Barcelona. And Barcelona gave me so much inspiration. And I had many students who I would give advice from when they were little, and I would show them how to paint. And now, when I showed an exhibit in Florida, a student came with his whole family and said, "Do you remember me?" And he said, "No." And the student said, "You gave me an advice." In Rutgers University, there's people who are tremendously good artists, and I've talked to them, and I've had students who become very professional artists. There's others who I give an advice to, and they become rich. And I like to give advice to everyone. The kid from Philadelphia with his family said, "Do you remember me?" And he said, "No." The student would say that you would go to my house when I was little in Puerto Rico, and you would show me how to paint. You would show me what art was. And to me, that was so beautiful. Students from Rutgers have inspired me, and I would always give them good notes. And many of those have gone to great places. And Picasso, I really like their line work, and that has inspired me. And I like to give others help. I want to show them what technique is, the way I was taught. If I was taught something in the fine arts, I want to give it back and teach it. I never wanted to be a teacher, but now, out of nowhere, now I'm teaching people, and now I'm kind of amazed. You have to have a vision, because painting, there's so many different forms of painting: realistic, surrealistic, 3 dimensions. The eye of any person could see more and beyond in one painting, and that has a lot of potential. And now I am painting one of my pieces, the one behind me. I painted it in February. Was the day when I made that video that was just shown to you guys. That's when I did it, and that's when I started it. I have another painting that I did last year that has a different technique to it. It's very deep. The name of this is Signi Coqueta. Oil pastels were used with little dots. Last year I did this one, and there's many more of those. It's very flirtatious. Many people say it could be like a woman because the colors are very different and bright. I really like pastels. I have many arts with pastels. The textures, they're very smooth. This This is like many other my arts. This one is done on paper, in panel. There's many others like that. And some of them are in canvas, done the same way as this one. And we give God thanks for giving me this gift to give out to other people. For me, the way of doing the little dots and the points gives it a different kind of mixture, a different flavor to the painting. Very depth with the eye. And this was done last year. If you guys have any more questions.
I think that was the last question I saw in the chat. Certainly, if anyone has any questions after this session, I'm happy to pass those along to Pedro. And as I said, when you get the thank you for attending email, there'll be a link to the recording as well as information about Pedro and Juan's upcoming exhibits in Philadelphia and in Trenton, as well as information about how to get a hold of them directly if you're interested in any of the work that they've shown or learning more about what Pedro and Juan are working on. Certainly, thank you so much, Pedro, for sharing your work with us and, for all of your work with the youth to inspire them to continue to work in the arts. It's been a pleasure having you. I apologize for the snafu in the beginning, trying to find the video. The magic of editing will make all of that disappear. When you get your recording, that part will be absent. But I just want to share one last slide with you. Just thank you to all of you for attending, and also thank you to our sponsors who make events like this possible. So please continue to follow us on Facebook and respond to the survey. Let us know if you are an artist who might want to host a South Jersey Creatives at the Table session, or if you know of an artist who may be interested or who may want to participate in our cultural asset mapping project. Please reach out. We're always available to you. And we thank everyone for spending some time with us this evening, and we hope to see all of you again very soon.